Howdy YouTube. So today we're going to be going after the transmission on this 84 D50 Mitsubishi pickup, and it's got a diesel engine in it. It's two-wheel drive, so I'm going to show you how to take out the transmission. First thing I've already done is I've already taken out the drive line. There's two 14mm bolts here, and then there's four 12 head and 14mm nut on the drive line. Pick those bolts off, and then over here towards the front, we're gonna take our slave cylinder off. Those are 14s, and we're gonna make sure that we drain our fluid here. Make sure that's all good and drained, because you don't want to make a mess. And then we're gonna go after our 14mm bell housing bolts, and these are 12mm 12-point bolts for your starter. I'll take those off and show you what else to do. So if you're gonna do this job, it's a diesel, it's gonna be extra greasy. I took about an hour pressure washing and then cleaning and blowing off with air, get all this dirt off here, and it's still covered in oil and dirt and stuff like that. It used to look like that, but if you want to do that and sure less greasy, it's probably the best idea. So you want to take these shield bolts off. These are 10s. Take those off, and then after you get your bell housing bolts,
so you want to make sure you take these 14mm bolts for your bell housing and the 14mm bolts for your starter off. And on the other side, there's more bolts to take off, as long as there's also bolts to hold this exhaust bracket on. Once it gets to that, then we'll go to the back and we'll take the cross member loose.
we got our bolts out up there, so now we're gonna have to come back here. Next step, we're gonna take this cross brace out. So we're gonna have to take off your brake cable here. So we're gonna take these two out here. Make sure so when you take these off, you just want to make sure these space, you take them off and put them back on the way you took it. So just take one piece off at a time and make sure you put it back on the right way. So our next step is that we got a jack or a jack stand. I'm using the lift, so I got this lift jack stand here. We're gonna make sure it's nice and tight with a chain, and we're gonna take these 14mm bolts out, and we're gonna take these 14mm bolts out and through bolt. Oops, there's a through bolt there, and just a brace. Take that off, and then it should allow our transmission to come down. And we gotta take this loose here. But I should take our brace down, then we're gonna let our transmission down, and we should be able to get our last couple bolts on top of the bell housing. So I went ahead and I got the bracket out of the way, and I was able to pull it down and get the last two bolts up on top. So after you get that, you have to get your shift linkage stuff here, which are three 10mm bolts. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to want to pry here in between the bell housing and try to get this loose. And it should come out.
So we got the transmission out, and now we can see the clutch, and you want to take these 12mm bolts off.
So once you take the clutch off, which is 6 bolts, they're both 612s, take those off. Well, look at your flywheel. This has a whole lot of blue spots, and you know, you probably want to try to get it machined. So we're going to do that. So your next step is you want to take a slide hammer and you want to get your old bearing out and pull it out with a slide hammer. So we're going to put a new one in. And you just want to use like a seal driver and drive it in there.
So this is the old shift fork. A new transmission came with another shift fork. But this is how your clips go on there. There's actually, you pull that part out, and it's kind of like a sideways, like a right angle. It goes in, and this just goes straight, and that's how it goes in. You want to make sure that you lube right down in here. Put some anti-seize so it slides easily on your shaft. When you get your new bearing with your clutch kit, you want to make sure this bearing fits on your shaft. I had to do some work with the emery cloth so this bearing fit on there pretty well. It's the same exact number as my old one. It's just it was a little bit tighter, so I had to work on my shaft to make it a little thinner. But it goes on nice and soft. So this is what I was meaning by the anti-seize. Now it slides back and forth nice. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our clutch in, and we're going to stab our transmission in. Okay, so this is my new bearing, and this is my seal driver, or bearing brace driver, what you want to call it. So you can see where it's nice and flush, and your tool is actually riding on the outside edge of the bearing. So you're not actually pushing on the inside, because that would cause your bearing to fail and come apart. You don't want that. So you want something that goes on the outside and pushes in flush and divides the pressure evenly.
So I'm gonna show you me putting that in there. You hear that different tone? That means that you got it in there nice and flush and you can't go any further. Okay, so this is what I like doing. I like putting this in here, and I got a little extra anti-seize inside where the bearing is, and I'm gonna put my alignment tool here and just kind of sit in there. So once I do get it all put together and the clutch is tight, I'm gonna pull this out, and it's gonna be a lot easier because there's lubricant in there. So this part, that's the top part, looks like a hat. It's always gonna be sticking out towards you because you put it in the other way. It may work, it may not work. I've seen it before, and it worked for like, a couple hundred miles, and it wore out. So we're gonna put it on. There's that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put a bolt on here and keep it lined up. There's one bolt. And then there's 2 bolts. Remember, there's 6 bolts that hold this on, and I'm gonna go look up a torque so I know what torque is for this. So if you're switching over transmission like what I'm doing, you want to make sure that these bolts look good. These holes are no good, so we are going to go ahead and take this whole plate and off our old one and put it back on our new one. So you want to make sure also when you took off this, you want to make sure this plate stays intact. You can take it out. You just don't want to lose that. If you don't have that, it's not going to be good news for you because this is like unobtainium kind of stuff. So our torque for this is 15 foot-pounds. So I'm going to start and do like a star. We're going to start here, and we're going to go up here, 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 and here. So that's not quite correct, but we'll see what happens. So there's, helps you turn on your torque wrench. There we go. And then there's 15. 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. And it's like double checking everything so you know that everything is tight. Alright, so we're going to pull this out just like that, and we slide transmission in. Okay guys, so when you're doing your transmission and going back in, you want to make sure that, see that harness up there? That it is pushed out of the way and it's not going to get stuck between your transmission and your engine. I was fighting it for a little bit, so you want to make sure that you don't have to fight it too. So your next step is that you want to go ahead and tighten your bolts and your starter and all that stuff and put everything back the way you took it out. And then you should be able to start it. Howdy YouTube. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. So that's how you guys do the clutch on your diesel D50 pickup. 2 things is there may be a part 2 of how to do the head, because as soon as I started it, after that we pulled out of the park out of our shop a little ways, the time belt broke. So that's kind of something cool. So there may be a video of how to do the head gasket on that. If you're interested in that kind of diesel stuff, just give me a like, give me a subscribe, and keep following, and we'll show you a video about it. But thanks for taking your time out of your day and watching my video. Any questions, give me a comment down below, like, subscribe, just if you like it, tell a friend, all that good stuff. So appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'm just trying to make you your own mechanic. Thanks.